Hey guys, it's Jane. I am a watercolor artist, and today we are gonna have a third watercolor painting session together. So hopefully you will grab your brushes, grab your pencils, and join me in creating something nice and relax. So I am in my studio. It's 7 p.m. There is a huge fly running around, and it's so distracting. Every time I'm trying to say something, it just sits somewhere nearby and makes a noise, and I hate it, and I'm done talking about the fly now. Okay, let's get to the painting process. I'll be painting this butterfly lady today. This painting still doesn't have a proper name because I couldn't think of anything that would be, better than butterfly lady. So if you have any ideas, please let me know in the comments. I will appreciate if we find something more suitable for her. I was also thinking about moth fairy maybe. Okay, so I had this sketch in my drawer, and if you were watching me clean my studio a couple of weeks ago, then you probably saw those sketches and a large pile of unfinished stuff that I was considering to either throw away or finish, and this one struck me as something that was quite inspiring, and I would like to see it finished. And I have this problem when I can't really focus and start a new project or painting when I still have unfinished things on my desk or even in my drawer. It's just like my head needs some closure before moving on, and I have never had a clean table of all the projects or all the unfinished sketches for a couple of years. So you can imagine that I'm going crazy these days. And since I do have more time now when my workshops have been paused for a while, I was trying to get all the unfinished things and paintings and sketches done, or just if I saw that they were not going anywhere, that I would throw them away. But either way, it's a closure for me, and then I can move on. So I am pretty sure that if I was doing the sketch today, it would be much different in composition. Maybe the face would be different. And I did sketch this a year ago at least, but I'm still not regretting the 3.5 hours that I poured into this watercolor study, because I had fun. Other than the butterfly wings that were driving me crazy, I had fun, and I even think that the skin turned out pretty well. I was satisfied with it in the end. I chose an unusual color combination, at least for me, because lately I really prefer having greens in my watercolor palette. When working on a new painting, I always use greens. But I was really adoring this combination of pastel blue with pastel or even more saturated pink, but basically the combination of pink and bluish or a lavender blue kind of color. And this is something that I wanted to pursue in this particular piece. And therefore, as the basis for this watercolor study, I used one of the newer watercolor paints that I purchased a couple of months ago, and this is a Lavender by Daniel Smith. And I really liked the shade of the blue that this paint has. There are 3 pigments mixed in this lavender color, and the particular one that makes the color different from the rest of the watercolors is the addition of a titanium white. So when a manufacturer adds white into the paint turns quite opaque, so, and it really is pastel-y, so I like the pastel colors, but it really resembles gouache more than watercolor, and it is kind of hard to work with, at least for me, because it makes all the other colors very muddy. It doesn't look very good when you layer with it. I also have the same problem with the Pastel Dreams palette by Prima Marketing. I still didn't publish the review, and I'm going to, because I purchased it out of curiosity, and it is just every single paint in that palette is filled with pastel-y, more opaque watercolors that are hard to use when you are using layering techniques. Another pastel-y paint that I used as a basis for this painting was Lilac, and that is not Daniel Smith, that is Shinhan Art Supplies. This is the watercolor palette that I purchased, and I have great experience so far, but this particular paint is also filled with the white, so it has an additional white component mixed in the pigment. Therefore, the same problem stays for the lilac as for the lavender paint. Both are very opaque and remind me of gouache rather than a watercolor, and they are not very handy when it comes to layering technique, which I use quite frequently. These colors really look nice and vibrant when they stand alone on the paper, and I'm not trying to mix them into another color and make washes of paint and use them with the layering technique basically. But these are definitely not basic shades that you need to have in your palette. If you're a beginner and looking for basic watercolors to work with, these are not the paints that you should go for. And what was really making me mad is how muddy my mixes were. For example, I did try to use some really pure and transparent ultramarine blue for the mixes that are around her wings, and every time I ended up using a separate palette for the pastel colors and a separate palette for my regular transparent watercolors, because they were muddying up my regular watercolors, which really didn't look the way I planned on the paper. For the skin, I used my regular painting watercolor palette, which consists mostly of Schmincke Horadam and Daniel Smith paints, which are high quality professional watercolors that are transparent and traditional in a sense. So these, since they are transparent, I'm able to do the layering technique, and the way I approached face is how I usually do it, and that is by building up the shading very consistently and putting up one layer over another until I am satisfied with the depth of my shadows. And I had to add maybe 5 layers to her cheeks because I was losing the alizarin crimson that I put in there, and in the end I even ended up maybe using a couple of color pencils to return some of the red into these parts that are really important and should shine. So sometimes you just need to use a lot of layers of paint to achieve the depth and the vibrancy of the color that you are looking for. And if that doesn't help, because sometimes watercolor just turns out very matte and dull, then just reach for color pencils and try to add the saturation or vibrancy this way. Sometimes I even reach for dry brush and pastel, which is like a last resort thing that I tend to go after very only in those cases when I can't help myself with color pencils, because pastel always requires fixing, and fixative can change the way other colors look on the picture, so I don't really like to use it with my watercolor artworks. But I already told you that in the previous video that I made about mounting and storing watercolor artworks, so you can check that out if you want to learn more about why I don't like to fix watercolor with a fixative. Alright. Once I was done with the face, I approached the wings in a quite complicated fashion that didn't bring me any joy. I don't really suffer all that much usually when painting a lot of details. That is something that might require many hours to complete, but sometimes I do sketch a very complicated composition, like when I paint peonies, for example. Those have so many flower petals and take hours and hours to complete, and I don't suffer. I enjoy it, but for some reason these butterfly wings gave me a hard time. It was just I wasn't sure about the outcome, therefore it was and it took such a long time to complete, maybe 1.5 or 2 hours to do all these details, that in the end I don't think look very nice. So yeah, I probably thought or felt like it was a waste of time, whilst when I do other detailing during painting flowers, for example, I don't consider that a waste of time, because yeah, flowers always look great, and if you put a lot of work into them, they get this really beautiful realistic feel. So that is something that is fun for me, but butterfly wings for some reason does not do that same trick. It's also why I sped up this part of the video maybe 2 or 3 times more than I sped up the face painting. I find it really boring, and I don't know what I was thinking. But when I sketched the butterfly lady, I was trying to combine elements of a butterfly with elements of what I love to do the most, which is portraits, and came up with a couple of ideas. This one struck me as one of the more interesting ones and just wanted to explore it. So now I know that maybe what I appreciate in butterfly wings usually is those color transitions. And in the future, if I painted this again, I would utilize watercolor effects more and paid less attention to the detail that I didn't do very well in the end, after all. But those metallic embellishments, they look quite interesting. I think they saved the day this time. And the last part that I enjoy the most, and probably a lot of artists do as well, is painting those white highlights. Well, I did it with white gouache this time, didn't use the pen, and I just used the same brush that I do the whole painting with, and it's the silver black velvet number 6, which has a very sharp tip, and it suits me fine. I can paint basically anything, even eyelashes, eyebrows, as well as these white details. It's sharp enough for me to not having to switch to another brush or pen or anything else. And I usually use white gel pen, but I feel like the brush gives me more flexibility this time, and also some of these areas needed not a precise line of white, but rather I chose to spread the white around and lighten a specific area if I feel that I lost the white of the paper there in that specific spot. The whole purpose of this painting was to have fun and just enjoy painting, and I did it so much. Right now I'm working on 2 more paintings, and one of them is completely new and one is something old that I failed to finish, and I felt a bit more reconnected with the painting process than I did 2 or 3 weeks ago, because I started finally practicing like a normal person. And so I am patting myself on the back, and if you started to practice more, then I'm patting yourself on the back as well. So we're great. Just let's keep it up. And I think it's just completely normal to get stuck from time to time and to stop practicing to get frustrated with your own artworks, or to feel like you're not moving anywhere or improving. Sometimes I just go on Instagram and then I get a panic attack from being at the same place where I was 2 years ago and not moving further. But the best way to solve this kind of trouble is not to stop drawing, but exact opposite, to draw more and just push through if it's not going as smoothly as you wish. So that's a little bit of pep talk from me to myself and to you. And guys, don't forget that I am still hosting a giveaway. I do have a giveaway. I posted a new video on Sunday and it's still up there. You can enter the giveaway up until the end of the month and win a print from me. You can even win a print of this particular painting, so don't forget to check out the video. I will put it in the cards somewhere in the top right corner so you can find it easily. But that's probably it from me today, and I will talk to you again on Sunday. I'm gonna try to have a tutorial this time, but I'd like you to continue painting with me during these watercolor painting sessions. Again, next Wednesday I will have something new completed by that time, and I'm really excited to have you here. Thank you guys for watching, and if you feel like being very supportive, then you can give this video a thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel, and if you're already subscribed, just make sure that you turn on all the notifications so that YouTube will actually tell you when I upload a new video. And yeah, that's it. I'm gonna go home now, it's late, and you guys have the best week. Stay safe, stay healthy, go for a walk or something, breathe some fresh air. That's what I'm gonna do as well, and I'm really excited to see you again on Sunday. And the fly is now sitting on my phone. All right guys, have a great day, and bye.